Right now, the WCNC Weather Impact Team keeping you weather aware as we see the precursors of Helene already all across our area.
Chris joins us once again with a look at the latest. Chris.
Usually it's just the tropical system that moves through that causes the flooding. Whenever you have rain like this beforehand, we're already seeing flood advisories and flood warnings for local streams. It's the South Fork River a little bit close to home. And we're seeing some big time statements that flooding is going to be a major issue. Already we've had 2 tornado warnings, and there's a chance that we could have already had 4 tornadoes over the last 24 hours. 2 were in the mountains. One was actually right through here. We're focusing in on a little bit of rotation, looking at some of our velocity scopes. You can see that quick little change from the red. It looks like that is fizzling out a little bit, but I think it's going to rejuvenate itself a little bit later on in the afternoon. Meanwhile, some of our rainfall estimates up to 8 inches plus off towards the west, but most recent rain is actually estimating over 3 inches north of town. I think it's a little bit close to that 2-inch mark. Many of us have had up to 1 inch so far, but I do want to read a statement. This just came down. There is now a flood concern and a major potential right here around Lake James. So this would be west of Morganton. Here's what the verbiage says. Based on current forecasting conditions, Lake James will begin spilling today and is expected to reach an excess of 110 feet on Friday afternoon, which is 10 feet above the pond elevation. So this will be the highest lake level ever reached at Lake James. Again, the highest lake level ever reached in recorded Lake James history usually is around 99 feet. So keep that in mind. This is going to be well above where it should be. So that's just one example of many rivers that are exceeding their banks. We're going to see a lot of red icons when it comes to our river and flood gauges because they're exceeding expectations. Also, because the way the rain has and the axis of rain before Helene even gets here has shifted further off towards the east, Charlotte is now in that flood watch. Before it wasn't. It was mainly just including areas in the mountains over in Cleveland County up into Burke and Caldwell. Now it's really a concern just east of I-77. So I think you still could see up to that 5-inch mark, but check it out when this is all said and done. Still showing up to anywhere from 4 to 6 inches from Gastonia up to Hickory, and then over 8 to 9 inches possible up in the mountains. And think about the already 6 inches that have fallen. That is on top of all this. So that estimate about 10 to 15 inches for areas west. Yeah, I think it's going to verify. But the further east that you go, really east of Monroe, you see that that rain total exponentially goes down. Now let's talk about the severe threat today. You have that moderate threshold, especially the further south you go, a better chance for a spin-up tornado. I think that we can verify that there was one or at least one very close from touching down in Steel Creek. It looked like a pretty defined area in Catawba County earlier on, and we also saw video from the mountains. We have the right environment that there's a twist of the atmosphere, that any thunderstorm that we have, any embedded thunderstorm, will have a chance to drop a quick tornado, and it could only last 2 minutes, and then the tornado warning is issued, and it's sucked back up in the cloud. Damaging winds also going to be a threat the further south that you go. So narrowing that down, especially from Lincolnton down to the south, a higher tornado potential, but we've already seen it around east of Hickory, so don't just bank on that. Our tornado parameter, we're starting to see numbers. Anytime you see numbers through the day, that's going to be a chance. We had a 0.1 when we had 2 tornado warnings a couple hours ago. We'll hold on to that through the afternoon. I think it gets a little bit of a lull in the action once you get to about, let's call it 11 to 4 a.m. But then once you get to 5 to 10, that's where we're seeing really excessive values. So the peak shear, the top of Helene, once it makes it a little bit closer to home, that is where we have the best chance for spin-up tornadoes. We could have several tornado warnings to start off the day tomorrow. On top of that, this tropical storm warning, not used to saying that for our area, is going to go in effect until your Friday afternoon. You could have wind gusts up to about that 50 to even 60 mile per hour range. So here it is hour by hour. You're expecting rain to continue through most of the day. That's a big change. You see the heavier rain rates start to move into the Charlotte area by about mid to late afternoon. Wind gusts up to about 30 miles per hour. It's any one of these could have an embedded tornado. Also some gusty winds. Keep that in mind. There's the lull I'm talking about. Late evening heading into the early morning. Once you get to about 4 o'clock, I think we're going to see the top head of Helene start to work its way into the area. Look at the impacts at this point. This is 6 o'clock. Gusts to about 50 miles per hour, close to 40 around Charlotte. All the rain that we're getting today, that's enough to take down a shallow root tree like an oak tree. The further west that you go with a tremendous amount of rain, almost 3 times the rain that Charlotte had, a lot of trees are going to come down. It's going to take down power lines. I think we're going to have widespread power issues. Once you get to about 8 o'clock, that's where we're seeing peak winds around 60 miles per hour, closer to the center of circulation. Widespread heavy rain rates over about an inch per hour. Here's the good news. Things start to calm down by the end of the morning. Rain starts to wind down. A few leftover rain showers. Winds still gusting to about 30 miles per hour during the afternoon. So our Guy Roofing 7-day forecast, you need to know, stay weather aware. Today, tomorrow, it's going to rain. It'll continue to rain. Things actually get better by your Friday afternoon. And my favorite saying, sunshine always follows rain. All in all, looking to be a drier weekend, so not bad weather for the Panthers game taking on the Bengals. Heading into next week, the upper 70s, dry Tuesday, Wednesday.